to the workshop on education for sustainable development framework at the regional level. My name is Fabrizio Piccarolo. I am the director of Foundation Lombardy for Environment, and on behalf of Foundation and on behalf of Lombardy region, I would like to thank you all to attend the workshop of today. I thank all the regional representatives here today and the participants for joining us. Let me thank also the World Environmental Education Congress for hosting our meeting today in Prague. Foundation Lombardy for Environment bounds more than 30 years of experience in the field of environmental research and sustainable development policy in support of Lombardy region government and all the levels of the public administration and private sector. In compliance with our with international guidelines, promote good practices at the scale, at local scale, scientific research projects on sustainable development and to help young people getting involved in protecting the environment. The field of sustainable development education is one of the foundation statutory key concerns and has been a priority in our activities. Foundation has been engaged for several years in providing activity for schools, thousands of Lombardy elementary, middle and high school students, scientific labs and publication for kids, as well as training activities for teachers and educators in the framing of new environmental awareness and culture. Today's workshop will be focusing on different ways the regional administrations has been setting and integrating sustainable development education into regional policies and programs. Regions represent key actors in the planning, in the implementation of sustainable development education territorial processes, as well as in all the environmental policies. Regional administrations support the identification, the organization of local networks in the territories within funds, dedicated human resources and competencies, capacity building opportunities, ICT tools in order to share and exchange information, experiences, and in building partnerships. Regional administrations are the most adequate to provide multi-level institutional governance system to allow collaboration among the various actors of the educational system, starting from the institutional ones and adequately addressing educational and training needs for sustainable development. The workshop of today is the occasion to introduce and discuss the experiences done by regional administrations within the UNESCO Sustainable Development Education Roadmap 2030 main action that are first, founding sustainable development education in regional policies. The second is supporting the transformation of formal, non-formal and informal educative sectors towards the sustainable development education principles. Third, promoting the empowerment of relevant regional sustainable development education key stakeholders. And last, scaling sustainable development education into local communities within the regional initiatives. In this perspective, we are pleased that 5 of the most important developed and innovative regions in Europe have accepted to introduce their strategies, benchmarking their most relevant outcome and practices in a peer context on the topic of high-level environmental education, helpful in improving regional policies and in fostering interregional cooperative relationships for growth and nurturing dialogue. The program specialist, Mrs. Won Young-byun, representative of the section of Education for Sustainable Development of UNESCO, will introduce the recent UNESCO Sustainable Development Education 2030 Roadmap, Strategies and Opportunities for Regional Territories. And Regional Sustainable Development Education Strategies and Activities presentation will follow this introduction. And we welcome Mr. Marc Vilaur, Director of the General Direction of Environmental Policy and Natural Heritage of the Government of Catalonia, Mr. Michael Haik, Head of the Environmental Academy in the Ministry of the Environment, Climate Protection and the Energy Sector of the Government of Baden-Württemberg, and Mr. Adolfo Uriarte, Director of the Natural Heritage and Climate Change Sector of the Basque Government. The workshop represents also the occasion to foster cooperative relationships among European regions in the context of sustainable development education. The second part of this workshop is dedicated to a political session on building action for sustainable development educational regional system. With thanks for their participation, Mrs. Mary McCallan, Minister for Environment, Biodiversity and Land Reform of the Scottish Government, and Mr. Raffaele Cattaneo, Minister for Environment and Climate of Lombardy Region. The workshop, and I'm going to conclude my intervention. The workshop will take almost 1 hour and 15 minutes. So each intervention, please, will take 10 or 15 minutes maximum. So I will let me advise you when the time is going to of your intervention is going to over. And another technical advice: please turn off all the microphone when you don't speak and you are not the relators. So thank you. I leave the floor to Mrs. Wong Yoon to offer some strategical and practical hints from her authoritative expertise and ways to join governance processes launched through Sustainable Development Education Roadmap 2030 by UNESCO. Thank you, and I leave the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to everybody. My name is Won Jung-Bian. I'm the program specialist from the section of Education for Sustainable Development here at UNESCO. It is a great pleasure to be part of this very important workshop. In particular, I would like to stress the importance of local and regional action in terms of making real changes on the ground to promote transformative education for sustainable development. So I'm very, very happy to be here, and I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. This morning, my presentation will be a short overview on this new Education for Sustainable Development framework, ESD for 2030, and its roadmap for action. As you know, as all of you would be familiar, the work of Education for Sustainable Development dates back to the 70s, and in particular, it had a very important milestone around the Rare Earth Summit in 1992, where in the Agenda 21, Chapter 36, education's role for sustainable development was explicitly mentioned. And then it led to the UN Decade of ESD between 2005 to 2014, which was then followed by the Global Action Program on ESD for the next 5 years. In particular, around the Global Action Program on ESD, we have seen many achievements around the world, including involvement of about 37 million learners and 2 million teachers. But now that we stand at the beginning of 2022, where do we stand in terms of ESD and where do we need to go? With this question, last year in 2021, UNESCO had a couple of publications which tried to address the way forward. And in this, for example, the review of national curriculum frameworks of 100 countries, we had found that, for example, in the question of climate change, only about half of the documents had reference to climate change. And when it appears, the depth was very minimal. And in particular, it was also noteworthy that more climate change education reference was made in countries vulnerable to climate change as opposed to those that are largely responsible for this crisis. So we can see that there's still a lot to be done, in particular to make sure that we have a balanced approach between cognitive understanding of these issues, but also social, emotional empathy, as well as behavioral dimension of learning, which promotes action and agency for change. In this regard, it is important to note that UN General Assembly resolution recognizes education for sustainable development as integral element of all 17 SDGs and a key enabler to make sure that we achieve these goals by 2030. So with this, in 2019, UNESCO General Conference and its member states have adopted this new global framework on education for sustainable development called ESD for 2030 towards achieving the SDGs. This framework has the goal to build a more just and sustainable world, to integrate ESD into education as well as sustainable development policies. And to do this, UNESCO has launched a roadmap, a plan of action in 2020 that builds and aims towards various action plans aimed at the date of between 2020 to 2030. And this roadmap is now one of the most read and most popular publications of UNESCO in recent years. So I would strongly invite you to take a look if you have not done so already. And there are key three features of this roadmap. In particular, first of all, it has an emphasis on education's role for the 17 SDGs, not only to raise awareness about these 17 SDGs, but also to promote critical and contextualized understanding of the 17 goals. So now that we are talking about ESD at regional and local level today, it is important that ESD and all these 17 goals are understood in a contextualized manner, what it means to learners, for example, in the area of Lombardia, to have, for example, the SDG 12 on sustainable and responsible consumption and production. It has to have a very critical role in terms of also to understand possible tensions and issues related between different SDGs. So there's still a lot to be unpacked around SDGs, and ESD has a particular role to promote this. Second key feature of this roadmap and framework is the focus on the big transformation. The big transformation is not, first of all, starts at transformative action at individual level, as we have seen in, for example, climate marches across the world led by young people. So individual level transformation, how it happens and how it brings agency in individual learners, that will be the first aspect that we need to focus on. And the second part is the structural changes that are needed in order to bring us to that level of sustainability that we desire within the next 10 years. This is in particularly important when we look at the consumeristic economic systems focused on limitless material growth that has to be revisited if we are to really tackle issues like climate crisis. And third aspect is on technological future, where ESD has a particular role in bringing about and alerting learners about the possible illusions that perhaps technological advancements can solve all sustainable problems. So it is important that ESD promotes critical thinking and critical understandings of technological advancements, as well as promoting green skills to lead this transformation of our societies. And third feature of this framework is on the emphasis on member states' leadership, because now it is very important that we mainstream ESD in our national education and sustainable development policies. So around these three key features, there are 5 priority action areas that are being promoted, namely advancing policy, transforming learning environments, building capacities of educators, empowering young people, and accelerating local level actions. And I think in particular, this acceleration of local level action is very relevant for our discussion this morning. And in order for us to implement effectively for the next 10 years, there are 6 implementation strategies laid down in the roadmap. First is on the implementing at country level. Second, on harnessing partnership and collaboration, including building of networks called ESD Net, a global network of ESD partners that will be launched this year. Communicating for action, including the UNESCO Japan Prize on ESD. Tracking issues and trends, promoting research, mobilizing resources, and monitoring progress, in particular around the achievement of target SDG 4.7. In particular, I would like to stress the importance of country-level initiative on ESD for 2030, which is the centerpiece of this roadmap. Inviting countries to build on ongoing efforts on ESD and engaging diverse stakeholders, including, for example, yourselves working at regional and local levels to bring synergies and network in an open and inclusive and evolving platforms at national level. So I would like to invite all of your countries and all of your regional governments to push for your country level initiative on ESD for 2030, engaging and building on ongoing efforts in your regions on ESD. So I think this discussion this morning is particularly important to promote this and to push for innovation and inspiration at country level to make a substantial change in the next 10 years on education for sustainable development. And now we stand in a very important momentum, because last year we had this UNESCO World Conference on ESD, where about 70 ministers and vice ministers of education made commitments to push for their country's plan of action on ESD for 2030. And as the outcome document, Berlin Declaration on ESD emphasized that we have to ensure that ESD is a foundational element of our education systems at all levels, with environmental and climate action as core curriculum component. So the time to learn and act for our planet is now. And with this clear message and with the ESD for 2030 framework, we would like to transform not only the learning content, but also the pedagogy and learning environment, and lead towards societal transformation, building a more just and sustainable world. And in order to do this, I really rely and trust on your active leadership in the next 10 years. And I would like to end my presentation with the words of our Assistant Director General, Stefania Giannini, who has said that we are increasingly asking if what people learn is truly relevant to their lives, and if what they learn helps to ensure the survival of our planet. Education for sustainable development can provide the knowledge, awareness, and action that empower people to transform themselves and transform our societies. It is a very critical moment we are at, and I invite you to all join us for this Learn for Our Planet campaign, and also invite you to join our UNESCO LinkedIn group on ESD. The address is here, to continue this conversation with all the stakeholders and partners and friends across the world who are working on this very important topic. So I thank you for your attention and look forward to a very exciting discussion this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Byun. Thank you very much for your introduction, the best introduction that we can have for our workshop. Thank you for giving us this important and very interesting overview of the Sustainable Development Education Framework. that help us to know the key elements for implementing at the local and regional level our policies and to build interregional partnerships. Thank you again, and now I leave the floor to Mr. Marc Vilaur, sorry, the Director of the General Direction for Environmental Policy and Natural Heritage of the Government of Catalonia. Thank you, and Marc, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio. Thank you very much also, Stefania, for the organization. Let me send some greetings to all the ministers that are here today, all folks in policy making. I also want to thank very much Björn for her excellent presentation and really clarifying and concerning about which is the big problem, the huge problem of climate change, and also our facing environmental problems that are putting in a critical point our development as society. I will take a little piece of one of your presentations, Björn, in order to present one practical case. The harnessing partnerships and collaborations is one of the things we have done as government. And it's what we want to present you today is the National Congress on Environmental Education, in Catalan, Congrés Nacional d'Educació Ambiental. What have we done here is basically trying to structure a situation that in Catalonia is really interesting and really special. Catalonia has a huge number of organizations that are atomized, but they are really rich and different. We have a very rich ecosystem talking about environmental education. And what have we done is to implement a case where the collaboration brings to a result in education. Well, a bit taking into account the criteria where we want to base our presentation. We want to present this real case where it started in Girona in 2019. It's been basically a process of putting together all the visions about environmental education in the different sectors where are we working. Our framework is to achieve the environmental challenges and to changing this complex world on with solutions and co-responsibility, not only in the formal education, but also in education, non-formal education, and also in other phases of our society. Our aim is basically to create innovative alliances, to move from individual chances to complex and collective fields to develop our main objective is the educational and concern about environmental crisis. And what we have done is to work together with people expert in non-formal, informal, and formal education, and especially non-formal and informal, toward achieving the ESD goals and the ESD principles. Basically, we have made a big collaboration between public and also private organizations. What we have done is a collaboration between also with the organizations, with the non-profit organizations that have a strong and a long tradition on environmental education in our country. What we have achieved with this Congress, what we have done, what we have resulted in of all this process is a big document, a decalogue where we can all put together some principles that we want a collective transformation, and we want it as necessary, not as optional. We want to promote environmental education as the answer to this necessity. We want to act locally. We want to generate transformative experiences to transform based on the participation of all the actors in society. We want science and education put together. The citizen science is for us a big hit where we work together, people and science. And we want to work with new languages where environmental education is not only about what we talk, but also is how we explain all these things to go inside the society and make this real change. We want also to become or to realize that environmental education is a necessity, and also we are truly convinced that the collective transformation is based on alliances. Our competence is to promote, to contribute in strengthen resources and responsibilities to enable effective implementation of environmental education in all sectors. We want to promote alliances, but not only soft alliances, but strong alliances between all different sectors and also between different organizations in the same sectors. We think that education on environmental policies and environmental awareness is not only a question that concerns the Minister of Education, but also the Minister of in our case, climate action. So we think that this has to be rolled together. And also we want this to be a process of learning by doing and a process of continuous learning where we actualize our situation day by day. And we want also to involve citizenship in this process. We want to be in the center of a process that is evolving around us, and we only facilitate mainly this process. And we want to use these tools available to make it wide, to open it to emotional circumstances and ever social environment. We have this permanent Congress where we established a common working plan between the promoters, and from there we promote the empowerment of relevant regional and ESDK stakeholders that are participating permanently to our work, and this becomes a platform for pilot policies. We work in order to make policies from our needs in society, and also to promote policies and strategies, and to promote a strategy in our educational policies in environment and awareness in the climate situation. We have nowadays 152 editions. As you can see, there are some particulars, there are some administrations, there are some educational organizations, and also, and not avoidable, is enterprises. Enterprises are here also part of the plan. The Congress, the Permanent Congress, works with schools in the program Escolas Verdes, but also works with science in this program where we treat especially the science, where we have a very huge tradition and a very interesting line developing, and also the networks of schools for sustainability. We have this strategic plan working on from 2019, and we also work especially in one of the areas, the most relevant areas, is the national parks and our natural parks. Well, I think I have done a fast reflection about that. If anybody wants to have more information, we are all available on sharing and explaining a bit more our situation, our projects, but I'm glad here to have explained the project and also to have all of you listening to me. I think this is one clear example, but today we have the chance to learn much more about other examples in our regions. And I want to thank very much again the organization for letting us exchange knowledge and grow a common knowledge that is the most relevant thing to avoid the climate crisis and also the environmental crisis. Thank you very much. And
thank you, Mark. Thank you so much to present us your rich experience in Catalonia. You use some words, some key words that I think that are common to all our experience in the environmental education, as promote a co-creation processes, support local actions, promote alliance, involve citizens. I think that all these are key elements that it's very important to share and to work together on this. Thank you. Now I leave the floor to Mr. Michael Haik, Head of the Environmental Academy in the Ministry of the Environment, Climate Protection and the Energy Sector of the government of Baden-Württemberg. Thank you, Michael, to be here, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabrizio, and thanks to a very good introduction. And first of all, good morning to everybody. And on behalf of our minister, our new minister, actually, I would like to send you her best regards for all the people concerned with ESD. She would have liked to attend the meeting herself, but at the moment she has too many obligations, especially concerning the Ukrainian crisis. So I have to apologize for her. As you understand, she's not available at the moment. So in Baden-Württemberg, we have a sustainability strategy which started already in 2007. It is a platform for debating and considering important questions of sustainable development, and in collaboration between the state, economy, and society. The state government has made sustainability a key deciding factor in government and administrative action. So what is important for you to know on top of that, in all of the schools in formal education, ESD has been established as a general principle for all subjects. It is in the curriculums as a core element in all school forms and in all subjects. So it's a very important change that has been taken place a few years ago in 2014. In the general strategy of the whole state, several topics which are prioritized. Of course, climate and energy, resources, and education for sustainable development, and of course also sustainable mobility and integration. So as we focus on ESD, we can see there are a few initiatives with different relevant target groups, like young people, and of course the economy and the whole community. And these target groups are addressed, specifically tailored, and so we have one Sustainability Youth Initiative started, which combines with the Sustainability Economy Initiative and Sustainability Community Initiative. So far, the Sustainability Youth Initiative was led with various ESD projects, but it has been done selectively and not as a part of a goal-oriented state strategy. So we try to change that and put it more on a measurable scheme. So ESD will now be accomplished more systematically and structurally and in close collaboration with the Ministry of Education, which has not been so far. As the ministries have changed last year, we have now a little bit better opportunities to collaborate together. So it is now planned that 3 measures in particular will be newly implemented. First, a certification body, increased visibility of ESD measures as a second measure, and third, qualification of multipliers, as I will show you now. So first, we need a creation of a certification body. So every educational institution can present their ESD offers, like workshops, projects, or whatever, in an extracurricular area where they get certified. So we try to ensure a high quality of all offers, so that everything that is on the platform is really on a high standard for everybody. So the second measure is the visibility of ESD measures should be increased so everybody notices them a lot better. In addition to the already existing networks like the ESD school network and the ESD university network, which comprises of like hundreds of schools and universities, there will be an extracurricular ESD network as a third pillar so that we can connect all these networks together. And the third measure is the qualification of multipliers. So we have a great variety of educational partners, which we try to enable to offer courses on their own so that they can offer standalone courses and be more or less able to have the work on their own, so are not dependent on anybody else. So as a part of some project that we started, there's a ESD funding program. So planning for this year, the call for proposals is already ongoing. About 10 projects per year will be funded with an amount of about 200,000 euros. In addition to this, we have thematic booklets and teaching materials on topics like climate, environment, energy, which are supplied supplied for schools and other educational authorities. And we've started a project with the Universities of Education in Heidelberg and Freiburg to develop new formats for imparting environmental and climate knowledge in schools. So to add something new which has not been established so far. So we will see how it turns out, but we are very fond of the collaboration with these two universities of education. So and then we started a collaboration with a project Plant for the Planet. The main objectives are to raise children's awareness about these topics and to encourage them and enable them to have concrete actions in a climate protection progress. And the interesting fact is that children are trained by children. So they see themselves as important role models, which is for us a very interesting aspect, in contrast to educational processes which are already done by only adults. So children are teaching children is a very interesting approach. The main target groups of these workshops are young children at the age of about 9 to 12. So we're really looking forward to this project and we'll see how it turns out. Our academy, the Environmental Academy, has a very broad network of many institutions and NGOs. We try to combine these networks to find synergies. We try to share resources. And of course, we try to launch new projects and try to build up capacities and try to be more present in all regions of our country, which is a very important part of our work. And in addition to that, we are inside a network of all academies throughout Germany. So we have a large network across all the country. So next week we'll have a meeting together and we'll discuss all these ESD features concerning the whole country. And then we try to start a few projects concerning citizen science. We try to motivate the broad society for topics like biodiversity, climate change, and protection for the environment. We try to use existing apps like iNaturalist or others for people that they can monitor biodiversity or climate change. We try to establish and multiply topics in the general public. Try to be on spot everywhere because everybody is being able to participate. We try to generate new experts for the future. Like we try to have different social media channels where we try to reach out to the people. And we try to implement a learning management system, which is a good platform for our courses and for our training schemes. So that's the main action that we try to start at the moment or to relaunch at the moment, because the process has a bit slowed down because everybody thinks there's a lot of work done already at schools or knowledge is everywhere. But we feel that we now need more action. So knowledge is on the one hand very important, but we try to bring the people into action, and so this is part of the work for the next few years.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your really interesting presentation. Some goals, some goals that you show us of your action are the same that we are tackling with. The collaboration between state, the economy sector, and the society is crucial for in the field of education for sustainable development. The certification issue is to certificate the quality and the effectiveness of the project is one of the most discussed in our region, and I think also at international level. The collaboration with the universities to grow and increase the quality of the educational action is another key point of the educational action. We see the network, and we hope that this network on educational, of the sustainable development education can enlarge, can grow also at interregional level among us and among all the regions that has the same goals. Thank you, Michael, and now I leave the floor to Mr. Adolfo Uriarte. Welcome, Adolfo, and thank you for being here, Director of the Natural Heritage and Climate Change Sector of the Basque Government. Thank you, Adolfo, and the floor is yours.
I needed to put my microphone on, sorry. Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to thank the region of Lombardia for this invitation, and the WEEC Congress as well for hosting this initiative. And well, I would like to go straight to the presentation. And what I've seen from the previous presentations is that we are all very good aligned, or very similarly aligned to the challenges that we are facing. So I would like not to be too repetitive, but I want to present today what we are doing in ESD, what our experience is, and where we want to go. So just briefly where we are, because many people probably don't know where the Basque Country is. We're in the southeastern corner of the Bay of Biscay, and well, we are a small country, as you can see, with only 2.2 million inhabitants, although we are quite healthy, quite wealthy, I would say, in terms of economy in Spain. So this probably makes as well some difference nowadays when you're trying to target such challenges. Anyway, talking, or the Basque Country is, we have to say, I would say, is at the forefront of sustainability policies in Europe, and we have started already. We started already with the Basque Country 2030 agenda in 2018. So, and additionally, we have been endorsing the European Green Deal through the Basque Green Deal initiative. And we are very strongly committed to sustainability and have been progressively incorporating environmental education as a strategic axis in society over the last 40 years. Concerning the environmental education policy milestones, I would say that this major challenge involves institutions, the educational community, municipalities, associations, and many other stakeholders in the need to carry out a process of transformation of the production and consumption models of the Basque society. In this context, in 1983, the Basque government, established the Vice Ministry of the Environment and with the first programs and policies to raise awareness and promote environmental education. Today, the Vice Ministry is included in the Department of Economic Development, Sustainability and Environment, which is, I would say, a clear statement of intentions. So we want definitely to develop economically, but always having in mind that development without nature is impossible. And this is something that is going through all our agendas and in environmental education agendas to formal, non-formal and informal education, as we say. Concerning this education for sustainability strategy, in 2018, the Basque Country 2030 was approved, and it was led by two departments. Of course, it's the Department of the Environment and the one of Education. And it serves as a collaborative guide to accompany citizens in the eco-social transformation of Basque Country towards a new culture of sustainability. During 2022, we have we plan to launch a decree. We've been working for more than 1.5 years already in this decree, and this decree is aiming to promote education for sustainability in the Basque Country, and is focused on two main lines. On one side is the promotion of the 2030 school agenda and the sustainable school seal in Basque education centers. And on the other side is the creation of the Center of Innovation, Training and Knowledge Management in Education and Sustainability. Of course, for all these goals, we need to go through the necessary digital transformation. We need to develop tools for the participation of the educational community, training educators to become facilitators of learning and change, and as well as alignment with all the educational plans. In this context, actions aimed at achieving the Basque environmental and sustainability goals have been promoted by means of different programs. And for example, we have direct support programs for action through grants and specific funds for schools, municipalities, associations, universities, and training centers to implement the sustainability training programs and activities. And we do have as well we do also promote environmental education at formal and informal level through programs, including the 2030 school agenda, as a consolidated benchmark program. We have got what we call Ingurugela. Ingurugela is a Basque word that stands for environmental classrooms, Ingurugela centers. And they play a very important role in this promotion, advising and providing training actions to all the educational centers. The program seeks to integrate education for sustainability in the curriculum and empower the students, making them main agents of change in their environment. These programs involve the entire educational community without forgetting the municipal dimension. Just some figures. In 2003, we started with 27 schools and 8,330 students. And nowadays, well, last year we had 443 schools embedded in this program with 121 municipalities and with more than 225,000 students. So it means around 65% of our schools are already participating in our programs. Something more close to the environment, we do have as well programs to promote non-formal education, which aim to help citizens change their way of thinking and acting by integrating more environmentally sustainable criteria. And we have got this Astertu program. Astertu is like examine or scrutinize in Basque. It's again a Basque name. The Astertu program is aimed at children and young people mainly, although parents are usually participating very, very close. So through this Astertu program, what we do is through knowledge of the environment, we promote the participation of the citizens and activating and raising awareness of the need to care for the environment. We seek to establish a sustainable relationship between humans and the natural environment. The program is divided into 3 different campaigns, or that we focus on 3 different things, or always using Basque names, as you know that we have Basque language as our second official or first official language in the Basque Country, and Aster Costa is focused on the coastal ecosystems. So we raise awareness of the importance to keep our coastal ecosystems healthy. We've got Ivalde. Ivalde is another sub-program of this Astertu program, as I said, focused on river ecosystems. And the last one that we have incorporated is Astertu Natura. This is so scrutinized nature. So this is the Basque. This would be the Basque or the English translation of Astertu Natura. And this program aims to explore the main ecosystems of our territory in greater depth. And finally, another key action is the Ecoechea network of environmental centers. Ecoechea, Echea in Basque, sorry for this Basque lessons, but Echea in Basque means house. Ecoechea means the house of the environment. And those are public facilities located in very unique sites of our country. And the aim is to bring sustainability, conservation, and improvement of the environmental closer to schools, families, and citizens in general. In these centers, several activities, exhibitions, workshops, and visits with recreation and fun as a key element are carried out. We've got at the moment 4 centers. We are developing the 5th center this year, so we are in the project to develop our 5th center, and these centers receive, well, mainly schools, but around 122,000 visitors each year. And though this is what we can say from Basque Country, and we are open to discussion and answer as many questions as you need. Thank you very much again, and hopefully the war stops immediately. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Adolfo. We have seen that the experience of Basque Country is a very interesting model to support the transformation, as we said at the beginning, of the formal, non-formal, and informal educative sector towards the sustainable development education principles. And as we have seen in the other experiences, the role of the stakeholders and of the local subjects, of the local entities to share with them the principle of the sustainable development education. I think that after this, I thank you for this overview of your experiences. The first reaction is that it's amazing to see how we start from the same goals and the same principles, but how we develop and we localize these principles with our own characteristics, with our own specific policies and tools based on the characteristics of our territories. So it's a very rich workshop this, and we learn a lot. We have learned a lot about from each other, I think. Now it's the time for the a more political discussion. We invite and we thank again a lot our two ministers. I don't know, Stefania, if Minister Mary McCallan is with us, has joined the workshop.
Not yet. She's
yet.
Joining. That's the last message I had.
Okay, so the Minister of the Scottish Government is not yet here, but so I let me leave the floor to Mr. Raffaele Cattaneo, Minister for Environment and Climate of Lombardy Region. Thanks a lot, Minister, for being here, and I leave the floor to you because we are waiting for Minister McCallan of the Scottish Government. So the floor is yours. Thank you, Minister, for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you to Lombardy Foundation for Environment and the WEEC Congress for hosting us today. And let me say that the title of this 11th WEEC Congress, Building Bridges, is very important today. It's really a key point. And thinking to all the bad things happening in this period in the world, let me say that I think international cooperation, international relationships are really strong tools to support peace. And most of all, in my opinion, education is the stronger weapon we can use against war. So what we are doing here is really important, not just on the issue of sustainable development and environment, but in a more global view to support and to support peace and give an answer, a concrete answer to the idea that war could be the way to solve problems between peoples and territories. So looking to the issue of my intervention at the first question, so our governance model and our vision about environmental education and education for sustainable development. Let me say 3 ideas. The first idea, according to my introduction, I think that education is the most effective policy we have to pursue and enhance to support a way towards sustainable development. Why? Well, because the change and the challenge we are facing is so wide, so spread, so disseminated, so pervasive that we cannot think that just a top-down policy implemented by the institution will be able to support this change. We need a bottom-up process, and we can start and let me say ignite a bottom-up process through education. But what does education mean? Education is a word that comes from Latin, from the ancient Latin expression ex ducere, that literally means to pull out, to get out, not to get in, not to put in. So it's not an issue of indoctrination, let me say, but it's a matter of an effort to support awareness, to give information, elements, ideas, to support the larger awareness in our population, in our citizenship, that we need to have a real change in the direction of sustainable development. And this is the first, but the main idea in my vision. So, second idea, but who have to provide it? Who have to provide environmental education? Well, according to the previous idea in my vision, not just the institution, and not mainly the region or the national or local institution. We have to support the system in a subsidiary approach, as many interventions have shown us before. For instance, the experience of Catalonia or Baden-Württemberg are in that direction. We have to support a network of subjects operating in the society, able to provide tools and experiences of environmental education. And this is our vision about governance. What do we have to do as region? Not to just to publish some books or pamphlets, not just to provide some courses or activities, but to support, to create, not to create, to recognize, monitor, and support a system. This is our vision. So this is the reason why the first activity we have done in these last years, in the period of my charge as a minister, is a monitoring through a large inquiry on the subject working in this field, and then asking them what they need from the region and to support that needs. So the idea is that the answer comes from a regional network for environmental education and education for sustainable development. And this is the most suitable organizational model to increase the capacity building of organization working in the sector. Concretely, this means many things that I can show later, but let me share with you the third ideas. Who are the targets of environmental education? Sometimes it seems to me there are some misleading vision about it. The target is not just the young people, the schools. The target, in our experience, we are working on three targets. Of course, young people, but also business community and public administration and public sector. We have to work together to support the experience of environmental education, address it to young people, but also address it with specific tools to business communities, to companies, offices, workers, and to public administrators, people working in the public sector. Because without this activity, we are not, in my opinion, we will not be able to support the change that we need in a so short time. We cannot expect just the next generation. We have to support the next generations, but we have to work now, looking to the executive class and the middle management in the companies, in the business community, and in the public administration. This is our vision in brief, and we are supporting some tools in this direction. It seems to me that is the issue of the next question, but I don't know if my colleagues from Scotland are now have now joined us in the meeting or not. So I give the floor to Fabrizio, and if he asks me to follow, I'm able to follow up.
Yes, thank you, Minister. They told us that the Minister is going to connect as soon as possible, but I don't know, Stefania, if I didn't see, I don't see the Minister, yes, present. So Minister Cattaneo, I ask you if you can go on with your intervention, because we are still waiting the Minister of Scottish Government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I follow up, showing more concretely
what does mean to support a regional system. Regional system allow us to systematize the various territorial subjects and experiences to promote the ability to carry out projects and disseminate information, awareness, identifying the priorities, and most of all, to exchange best practices. To do this, we have done, as I said before, first of all, an extended inquiry organized at regional level. And this inquiry revealed us, first of all, the existence of many subjects of a local environmental education and education for sustainable development networks. So we as institution has to recognize the existence of the subject, not to create an alternative to that subject. This is, in my opinion, the vision of subsidiarity. But secondly, we ask them what are their needs, what are the requests they address to the region, and first of all, they ask us to simplify the access to public and private funding. And this issue of simplification is, generally speaking, a great issue, because we have to allow simply condition to take part of the system and to get the support that we as region or public institution could provide. Concretely, this means three things. As I have seen in your experiences, a tender calls, providing incentives and rewards to the best projects, such as the facilitation of access to certain lines of financing or joint financing for those who implement best practices, support for forms of partnership and planning for access to European funding, access as networks of national and international level. So this kind of support, financing, but also facilitating partnership. This is the issue of our public tenders. And just last week, we have made a ceremony of awareness, the best projects, and I've been really impressed by the creativity that we could find when we support the action of this system of subjects already present in our society. Second, we have created a virtual platform in our website of the region, a virtual platform as a place for participation, which is developed with the contribution of all the components of that system as a tool to improve the coordination of initiatives, to promoting the circulation of information, the exchange of experiences, and so on. So we have to give them the opportunities to know one the other what they are doing. And this is precisely the purpose of this platform. And third, we are providing some initiatives yearly to give them the opportunity to show concretely what they are doing. The main initiative is an exhibition. Last year, for the first time, we have supported an exhibition here in the space of the region, inside the building of the region, where the different actors could show what they are doing and offer their initiatives, their proposal to all the subjects that could be interesting in. These are the main activities to set up a concrete set of tools to support environmental education. Besides, we are following in collaboration with Lombardy Foundation for Environment in more traditional activities. So, for instance, they are
following with the publication of articles and books on the different items, and it's really appreciated by the schools, for instance. But in my opinion, our main action is, in the subsidiary way I've been expressed, to support the projects and the activities of the many subjects already existing in our society. And this is, in my vision, the secrets of good environmental education policies. And I think we are looking to a success, because the experience of this year already have supported a system and showing us how many good ideas and experiences are already existing in our society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Raffaele Cattaneo. While you were speaking, Minister Mary McCallan joined us. So welcome, Minister, and welcome to our workshop. We are at the last intervention. We have seen in this hour of workshop the experiences at regional level of Lombardy region, Catalonia, Baden-Württemberg, and Basque Country government, and we show a really rich experience at regional and local level. So I leave the floor to you, Minister McCallan, Minister for Environment, Biodiversity and Land Reform of the Scottish Government. We ask to the Minister, as we ask to Minister Cattaneo, to introduce the governance models for sustainable development education that have adopted in your region, and what are the most important actions to be implemented to support the regional sustainable development action system at regional level. So thank you for being here, Mrs. McCallan, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you can hear me. And first of all, my sincere apologies for the delay. I think there was a mix-up with time zones. So from my office, we're all very sorry about that, but very glad to be with you now. And very glad to have the opportunity to speak a little bit about sustainability education, or as we call it in Scotland, learning for sustainability. Now, in Scotland, we take our history very seriously in terms of the consequences that our innovations and inventions have had on society and the planet. However, we're also very proud of our history and what I think is a long-standing commitment to sustainability and to the preservation of nature. And in this regard, we draw on the work of historic key Scots, such as Sir Patrick Geddes, who is considered the originator of the idea think local, global, act local, and John Muir, who is widely recognised as the founder of the National Parks movement. So we draw on this history in our efforts to co-design and implement and build a sustainable future. So how do we do that? Well, sustainability and the UN's Sustainable Development Goals underpin all Scottish Government activity as a key aspect of our national performance framework. And furthermore, our recent programme for government strengthens this joined up commitment to sustainability. And in that way, we're working towards a vision of national identity that is built around sustainability. And of course, embedding sustainability across education and lifelong learning is absolutely vital if we're going to achieve this ambition. And as I've said, we have a long-standing commitment to it, and it's 10 years since we embedded learning for sustainability across our national education policy. And the benefits of this approach are being seen in the 2018 PISA Global Competence Report. saw that only 2 countries' pupils scored higher than Scotland when it came to their knowledge and their understanding of global issues. And despite this positive sign, we are always challenging ourselves. We appreciate there is room for improvement. And it's our hope that an action plan that we launched in 2019 called the Learning for Sustainability Action Plan will help us to take those next steps. And the plan is it's structured around 5 key themes. Firstly, that all learners should have an entitlement to learning for sustainability. Then, in line with new General Teaching Council professional standards, every practitioner, school and education leader should demonstrate learning for sustainability in their practice. Thirdly, we say that every school should have a whole school approach to learning for sustainability that is robust, demonstrable, evaluated and supported by leadership at all levels. We say that all school buildings, grounds and policies should support learning for sustainability. And finally, our action plan says that a strategic national approach to supporting learning for sustainability should be established. The action plan is a working document and it allows us to adjust the actions as and when required. And throughout the summer, Scottish Government officials held several meetings with pupil student climate campaigners and together they examined the plan's actions to determine how they could be strengthened. So we are reaching out to young people and asking them to tell us how we can strengthen our approach, because we want to ensure that young people who have been so instrumental to bringing the twin crises of climate change and biodiversity loss to the fore of all of our minds, we want to make sure that they are absolutely core to the design of their education programme. So this is all happening on the backdrop of a national effort to build a net zero economy that is fair and that creates opportunities for new good green jobs. And we are investing heavily in supporting to upskill and reskill people to access what we see as jobs of the future. And we, in doing that, are trying to put equality, inclusion and human rights at the heart of that education and skills piece. We're absolutely clear that human rights and equality should underpin all decision making and delivery across the work of government. And in all of those ways, we are working to try and ensure that people in communities, they feel safe, they feel respected, they feel included in the life of Scotland, and they can look to their education institutions to help them understand matters affecting our planet here in our lives here in Scotland, but also the global picture. So we're working very hard on that, and it's a great pleasure to share learning and experiences with you all today. And I think that, you know, together we can clearly achieve much more than we could individually. So thank you very much. I hope that's a helpful overview.
Thank you, Minister McCallan. Let me make a last question, just 2 minutes, because one of the key elements, one of the common issues that we saw today in all the regions attending the workshop today is the stakeholders' involvement, the support of the local subject, the local actions. Minister Cattaneo said before that is a bottom-up. The role of the government, of the regional government, is to support the bottom-up actions. This is a question that I would like to make also to Minister Cattaneo, but let's start from you, Mrs. McCallan. What are the tools in Scotland? How do you support this concretely, this bottom-up action, this local action of all the stakeholders and the subjects that are engaged with the sustainable development education? Thank you.
Thank you. And it's a really excellent question, and it's absolutely right. We cannot have a top-down approach. We know that policies and approaches which are imposed on communities, on people, they don't work. It has to be co-developed. So that's what we're trying to do. And we've tried to do it, for example, by embedding in that action plan that I talked about, the need for learning for sustainability to be built into practitioners' training so that they are supported in their training to then go on and be advocates for learning for sustainability when they have pupils in front of them. We work with our local authorities, so our council regions who have responsibility for the implementation of national education policy. We work with them to make sure that they understand the objectives, that they are well funded to deliver them. And I mentioned in my piece there that we speak and we engage with young people, and we do that when we're developing our policies, but equally once we have an action plan which says this is how we intend to embed learning for sustainability, we take it to them and we say, is this robust enough? Does this go far enough? Does this cover the breadth of issues that you want to be taught around? So for example, in my engagement with young people, they've often told me that they'll go to school and they will learn about climate and the environment in geography, but they want to see it right across the academic piece in every lesson that they're taking. So, you know, it's that real feedback from the people who are learning. So in all of those ways, we have tried to take local authority, take practitioners, take students along with us into an action plan, which we've brought together at national level. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Minister McCallan. And Minister Cattaneo, how do you manage this bottom-up process in Lombardy region? We know that you are involving not only the schools and the young people, but the action is towards private sector, enterprises, and third sector, and all the other level of as Mrs. McCallan say, of the communities, no, of the local communities. So how is the experience in this way in Lombardy region?
Well, first of all, let me say my best greetings and thanks to Mary McCallan and Minister McCallan, and let me say my colleagues, Mary. Well, it's been for me, in a sense, a surprise, but a very good and interesting surprise to listen so many experiences in the same direction I tried to show before. When I say that education could be, in a sense, misleading, if we think to education just looking to young people, well, it is according to my idea of education. As I say before, education is not to, as Mary McCallan said just now, to put in something, to get in the brain of the people, but education is to offer opportunities to pull out something already existence in the mind of the people. So this is not an issue just for young generation. This is an issue for all. And we need to support this idea of education, let me say, in a sense, most of all, starting from people now in condition to take decision. How we can do it? Well, with many different tools. For instance, in the frame of sustainable development strategy, we have, of course, provide to prepare and write and approve our regional strategy on sustainable development. But how we have done it, starting with an agreement signed by around 100 social subjects. That means the trade unions, the main association of companies in the different economic sectors, the universities, the local authorities, and asking them to prepare their own strategy to sustainable development. And then with bottom-up approach, prepare our regional strategy. The idea is really completely different. It's a bottom-up process. So we need to include, we need to involve in our policies the territories, the community, the local communities, the different associations expressing different interests. I'm really convinced that we cannot get the target if we start from a top-down vision. So we have to teach to the people, we have to teach the local community what they have to do, and in a sense we have to impose them this vision. No. We have to support them to discover their, and to be aware of the need to move in a different direction. And you, Fabrizio, know it very well, because how many discussions we have done in these years. I remember when I started with my term as Minister for Environment in 2018, my very first act that I signed as minister has been an agreement with the regional school office. As you know, in Italy, schools depends by the national government and the national ministry. But the idea I received from the past is that environmental education is something to provide through the system of the national schools to the young people, giving them some support, some tools. No, the idea is completely different. We have to create the condition to ask them to be the protagonist, let me say, to be the star of this movement towards sustainability. And this is what the young people is asking to us. What is the movement of the Friday strikes and climate change fight from the people, from Greta friends, is and asking for a protagonism, a new protagonism, and we have to support it. Of course, with the frame of a general strategy for as the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of Agenda 2030 of United Nations show us. We need global vision and targets, but we have to ask our community to be protagonist of this change.
Thank you, Minister. I'm sorry, but we have to leave the room because there are people waiting outside here. So I have to quit very fast. I want to thank all the participants, all the relators. We want to see the workshop of today as a seed, no? That we put in the earth, and we want to be committed to make this seed grow. No? We would like that today is a starting point to build a strong collaboration among us and other regions that want to share to join us in this issue of sustainable development education, and we would like to find with you other opportunities and other situation to collaborate, because the richness of today is really we can't lose this richness of today. So thank you again to everybody, and see you in the next occasion and next situation. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you,
Bye.
Minister Cattaneo. Take care.